Greetings, wizardlings. Today I would like to answer a couple of great questions that came up in the comments section in the previous video that I posted dealing with the Kabbalistic Mojo Bag. In that video I share a method for consecrating and empowering a Mojo Bag under the aegis of the spirits and intelligences of Jupiter. And that can be used with any of the planets and so on. And there were some great questions that were put to me regarding that technique. So in this video, I'd like to address that, and I'd like to show off my awesome sweater. Check it out. Garden of Earthly Delights by Hieronymus Bosch. So, on to the questions. Oblivion Jones comments, I really enjoyed your Mojo hand video. I've often used Solomonic pentacles as ingredients in them in the past. Do you think that a properly consecrated pentacle of the planet would be a powerful addition to one of these Mojo hands? Also, do you ascribe to the tradition of odd-numbered ingredients within the bag being ideal? So regarding using the consecrated pentacle of the planet, I'm assuming that Oblivion Jones is referring here to the pentacles in the Key of Solomon. And this is where things get a little bit confusing, because pentacle is a generic term used within the grimoire tradition to refer to any kind of Solomonic seal. And of course, a pentacle is a five-pointed star. And then, of course, we refer to the seals within the Key of Solomon, or the Greater Key, the very famous grimoire that we most commonly think of as the Key of Solomon, and the seals in that as pentacles also. So this is where things can get a little bit confusing. And I'm pretty sure Oblivion Jones is referring to the pentacles in the Greater Key. And as far as combining those pentacles with the work that I shared in the previous video, I am reluctant to say yes. You can, of course, do whatever you like, and there is some logic in it in as much as there are the planetary rulerships that align and so on. But my understanding is, and my take on it is, that the pentacles in the Greater Key operate by means of the spirits that are invoked in that grimoire, and that those spirits and those beings may well have the same planetary rulership, and there may be some overlap, yet there is some distinction there between the intelligences and the spirits that are invoked by using the tables of the planets that I use in the previous technique, right? And the tables, those magic squares, are a distinct form of talismanic, kind of separate to the Greater Key to some extent, and they're calling on a different different group of spiritual creatures, in my opinion, right? And I'll read to you from Agrippa. Agrippa writes, and this is the primary source for these magic squares, as you can see, and the spirits and the intelligences. Agrippa remarks, it is affirmed by magicians that there are certain tables of numbers distributed to the 7 planets, which they call the sacred tables of the planets, endowed with many and very great virtues of the heavens, inasmuch as they represent the divine order of celestial numbers impressed upon celestials by the ideas of the divine mind, by means of the soul of the world and the sweet harmony of those celestial rays, signifying according to the proportion of effigies, supercelestial intelligences, which can no other way be expressed than by the marks of numbers and characters. For material numbers and figures can do nothing in the mysteries of hid things, but represent tentatively by formal numbers and figures as they are governed and informed by intelligences and divine numerations, which unite the extremes of the matter and spirit to the will of the elevated soul, receiving through great affection by the celestial power of the operator a power from God applied through the soul of the universe and observations of celestial constellations to a matter fit for a form, the mediums being disposed by the skill and industry of magicians. What he's referring to, of course, is these Kabbalistic number squares. And these Kabbalistic number squares are used to generate the sigils associated with the intelligences and the spirits of the sphere in question, in this case being Jupiter, right? So those spirits and intelligences are linked to these tables, and this magic square is being used in that technique. So it makes more sense to stay within that domain, within the domain of this category of beings, rather than pulling in pentacles from another grimoire. I mean, there's no there's no hard and fast rule here that I've been made aware of. And of course, the pentacles by themselves from the greater key have been used in many different ways, often outside of the context of that tradition, with great effect. So it would probably work. But in terms of the discipline and the elegance of the technique, I would say no. As to also, do you ascribe to the tradition of odd number ingredients within the bag being ideal? In this case, I would suggest that you stick to the planetary numerology associated with that sphere, right? So to put in a number of ingredients of the same value, and there are a couple of numbers associated with each sphere. So that's how I would come at it. I would use the planetary numerology associated with the number squares themselves. Then Javi writes, and this was in a private message, but I thought it was a really good question, and it would be good to address it and for everyone's benefit. He writes, "Hi Balthazar, how are you? I bought the Mojo ritual. I loved it. It's wonderful. I ask myself nonetheless a question. Could I turn this ritual into a candle magic ritual? That is, instead of using the Mojo, I could put a picture of myself and direct the energy of the spirits towards me." And this is a great question. And the short answer is yes. And in fact, I'll be sharing a number of techniques in the channel using the triangle of lights format and this particular arrangement that you've seen in the Kabbalistic Mojo bag video, because that template, that ritual structure can be adapted for all kinds of things. And of course, you don't need to make a bag. You could consecrate another kind of work in there. You could empower a jar, a sweetening spell. You could do some other kind of wax image magic, work with the doll babies. You could of course, you could put your own image there, a picture of yourself with your petition, which for me would be quite lazy, to be honest. I think you would be losing a great opportunity to incorporate some sympathetic magical gestures and magical work within the triangle itself. And experience has shown that these sympathetic magical procedures, like manipulating doll babies, cutting, tying something, burning something, using sweetening or souring, or any of the innumerable things that we see in folk magic to enact or to mime our intention using materials. And whenever you're able to do that under the aegis of the spirits to direct them, it's much, much more powerful. So if you're going to adapt that ritual format, which you can, and I'm excited to hear that you're thinking about doing that, because this is exactly how I work, then think about sympathetic magical procedures. Don't just think about sticking your picture there with your petition. I mean, fine, you could, but there's so much more that can be done there that would be effective. So thanks for the great questions. I hope you found that useful. Remember to subscribe, and thank you for watching.